All right, see the countdown? Welcome, everyone. So excited for our next piece of the day, Take the Mic, Centering Student Voice. We have some phenomenal students who are going to be sharing today around how they use their social emotional skill, how they've learned them, and how they use them in their community and how to learn. So I'm so excited to introduce the moderator for this panel. So I'm going to introduce Allende Bennett. Originally from the south side of Chicago, Allende has resided in New York City for the past 10 years. He was first introduced to being an educator while working during his summers away from George Washington University as a social studies teacher in San Francisco. Between 2014 and 2019, Allende worked as a director of college counseling at Williamsburg Prep, a public high school in Brooklyn. In 2019, Allende earned a master's degree in educational leadership, politics, and advocacy from New York University. Following his completion of his graduate degree, Allende joined the Urban Assembly as the post-secondary access manager, where he works today. Allende, I'm turning it over to you to introduce our students and lead the panel today. So excited. Thank you for your leadership. Students, I'm looking forward to seeing all that you have to say. Allende, the floor is yours.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Brandon, for the introduction. And thank you all for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick note about tech. Just make sure you add questions using the Q&A function on the top right. You can ask questions privately, and we'll get to some of them at the end. So throughout the session, you can engage with us and others through the chat feature. All right. So we look forward to hearing those questions. All right. So without further ado, we're going to get to know our panelists who are here with us today. So I'm going to ask them to do, and I'll start off with my answer when it comes to this more specific piece. But we're going to ask you guys to say your name, your grade, school that you attend, and your favorite song right now. So I'll go first, and then I'll tell you the order we want to go in. But as Brandon mentioned, my name is Allende Bennett, access manager at the Urban Assembly. I'll just say my favorite song right now is it's an old song, so it's a throwback, but it's by Talib Kweli, Reflection Eternal. It's called Good Morning from the album Train of Thought. And the reason I say it really briefly, is that it deals with loss, which is something that's happening personally, but also deals with life, which is also something that's happening. And so it just felt appropriate because, it's about living your life the right way. And these young folks, having heard them in rehearsal, are doing that with their SEL skills, or doing that in their lives, or gotten a chance to get to know them. So it felt kind of even more appropriate based on hearing these young folks and what they have to say. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves again. Just tell us your name, your grade, your school, and your favorite song for right now. I'm going to start with Avian. See you first on my screen and let you introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Avian Jordan. I'm currently attending Urban Assembly School for Global Commerce. I'm a senior. And my favorite song right now would be Michael Jackson, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
Ooh, classic. Okay. And I'm just going to go right next to you. Introduce yourself.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Vanna Nicholas. I'm 17 years old, a senior at the Urban Assembly School for Global Commerce. And currently my favorite song would have to be Singularity by BTS.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Okay. I'm Sadie Baez, and I also attend the Urban Assembly School for Global Commerce as a senior. And right now, my favorite song is Just Like Magic by Ariana Grande.
Okay, that's some good taste in music over here. I see what we're dealing with. Thank you for that. I'm going to see Janaya, you're next that I see on my screen.
Hello, my name is Janaya. I'm in 8th grade, and I go to the school of Urban Assembly Academy for Future Leaders. And my favorite song is A Pearl by Mitski.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Abriana, I see you next to my screen.
Hi, my name is Abriana Leskai. I go to Urban Assembly Academy for Future Leaders, and my favorite song right now is Insane by Summer Walker.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Dominique, want to close us out?
All right. Hello, my name is Dominic McIntosh. I go to Urban Assembly Academy for Future Leaders, and my favorite song And my favorite song right now is Enemy by Imagine Dragons.
So I appreciate you guys for sharing your favorite songs, letting us know your favorite songs right now. So we're going to jump right into these questions here. And this first question is Brianna and Janiyah. And we want to just start, just real basic here. What is SEL and why is it important? Brianna, I'll start with you. What is SEL and why is it important?
SEL stands for Social and Emotional Learning, which is a method used to educate others, not only on their emotions and their social skills, but also how to communicate with others. This is important because it teaches others the ability to understand and develop positive relationship skills and a positive self-image in the world, in the real world. And it helps, especially in a society constructed to bring others down.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. And I just want to hear, if we can hear from Janiyah, what is SEL to you and why is it important?
SEL to me is how you manage yourself around others and basically a lot of self-awareness. And it is important to me because I feel like our environment as a whole would be much more safer and calmer if everybody would be able to access those skills together.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys bringing in kind of the greater world around us or the environment around us and some of the elements and how SEL can be important despite what we face on a day-to-day. So this next question here is going to be for Dominique, Saley, and Avian. And Dominique, we'll start with you. But what SEL competency are you most working on? And what SEL competency are you most proud of? So we want to hear about both. What you're working on and the competency that you're most proud of. And Dominique, we'll start with you.
One SEL competency that I'm working on is social skills. And the one that I am most proud of is still social skills.
Okay. So you're both proud and working on both of those, but social skills. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And then we'll just move next. Saley, same question to you.
Yes. So the one I'm most proud of, I like to start positive, is definitely social awareness. I think I really strive in kind of focusing on what other people around me are feeling and how my feelings might affect them. So, but then the one I am working on right now is definitely responsible decision making. I just got a job and learning how to manage money and time with school is definitely difficult. And so I really have to work on my decision making.
Nice. And congrats on the job. And, we're all happy to hear that. And it sounds like a good place to work on those skills as well. And so just to close this out, Avian, can you tell us, again, the competencies that you're most working on and then the ones you're proud of?
I like to start positive too. One competency that I'm proud of would be optimistic thinking. Like making a bad situation and taking the good out of it. So for example, like my baseball, I'm currently the captain on the baseball team for Urban Assembly, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of students that aren't dedicated. We had to forfeit games. We had to cut off practices because of the fact that students would give their word and still wouldn't come and show up. So I took the few, I have a good time with the select few that come, right? We all have a good time. We're all having a great time. We'll play a scrimmage against people that are already on the field, and we'll just have a great time at practice, on our way to the games, stuff like that. So yeah. And one SEL competency that I'm working on currently would be relationship skills, because I tend to keep a lot of things to myself. And, I wouldn't share, especially with the people that are close to me, I wouldn't share with them certain stuff. So they wouldn't know how I feel. I feel a certain way. They'll be clueless and stuff like that. So yeah, I got to work on my relationship skills.
Yeah, I think it's so important that you guys are all aware of what it is that you're working on and knowing that this is a lifelong journey, right? So that you guys are certainly on the which I think the audience can certainly appreciate. So thank you for the answers. And so I just want to keep us moving here. This is going to be for Abriana and Savannah. So if you could give an example of when you have used SEL skills outside of the classroom. So an example of when you use SEL skills outside the classroom. And Abriana, I'll start with you.
A time when I used SEL skills outside of the classroom would be when I got into a verbal argument with someone, and I decided to use my self-management to stop me from making a decision to get violent or physical. And I use my communication skills to help me and the other person, the other party, get to a kind of understanding, happy medium.
Yeah, no, that sounds, that's a powerful example. And just even thinking about the consequences if you had not been able to use those skills for maybe yourself and the other party involved. So that's a very powerful example. I appreciate that. And I'm going to ask the same question of you, Savannah. If you can give us an example of outside this classroom, you using an SEL skill.
Yes, so I am cheer captain, so I utilize my responsible decision-making skills when we have practice, because I have to take into the fact that not everyone will be able to do the same exact moves that I do. So I have to be careful and choreograph properly. That way, everyone is comfortable with what I have to present, and that no one will give me any negative feedback or backlash. And yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And it's nice to get a look inside of, your extracurricular activities that you guys are a part of and how you're using them in some of those scenarios, some of those settings. So thank you for that answer. And so to keep us moving, I want to ask this question. This is going to be of Dominique and Janiyah. And I want to know, how have your teachers helped you develop an SEL skill? And I'll start with you, Dominique, but just think about, how have your teachers helped you develop an SEL skill?
Okay, so my teacher, Miss Smalls, so my teacher has helped me develop social emotional learning, because one of my teachers, Miss Smalls, she actually, even though she's only been here for just this year, she still knows a lot about everyone in the school. So one time I ended up hitting my head on the wall, and I was really upset, and I had to go to the nurse. So Miss Smalls just gave me a Greek mythology book, because he knows I like Greek mythology, and found a way to calm me down, and then I just walked. So my ELA teacher actually helped me understand the emotional learning, by being able to understand others the same way that I would want other people to understand me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's powerful. And there's a lot of educators in the call, but just the power in getting to know your students, right? Like, that seemed like that relationship really allowed for that to happen. And so, again, I want to ask this to Janiyah. If you can tell us, how have your teachers helped you develop an SEL skill?
Teachers in my building have helped us develop social emotional life skills, because they let us solve our disputes amongst ourselves without any violence, as long as it doesn't pertain to violence. So let's say there's a disagreement in the classroom about a certain topic, they would let the children decide on a common ground and kind of decide what they should do to move on, because in the future, nobody will be there at your job trying to mediate the conversation you two are having. So get to learn those now. And of course, that's if it escalates, but in general, they'll help you out that way. So that's how my teachers have helped me.
Yeah, it seems like a great practice, kind of mediating, but letting you guys figure it out and thinking about real life scenarios beyond school, where you will need to use those skills of working it out with another person. So that's a great example. I appreciate that. Avian, I'm going to ask this question of you. Can you tell us about advisory, and maybe give us a little context as well, but can you tell us about advisory and how it has helped you remain connected to the school?
Okay. in this school, I had two advisors. I had one for 9th and 10th, Mr. Terry, and Ms. Booya is my advisor at this moment for my senior year. And I want to start with Terry. So back in 9th and 10th grade, I used to get into like a lot of trouble and a lot of play fighting, a lot of just stupid stuff. And I used to fool around in the class a lot. But Terry, like when it was time for advisory, like Terry, like other teachers have told me, like he always vouched for me. And whenever I was in advisory, I would talk to him anything that was going on at home or outside of school, or like how my week was so far, how my day was going so far. And me and him just got to connect on that personal level. So like I always knew he had my back. So now that I actually have him for AP, no, I have him for economics, right? And as soon as I get into the class, it's so easy to do the work. I just get the work done like that because of the fact that me and him, had that good relationship. I'm always participating in class, doing my work easily, right? Now, Ms. Booya, on the other hand, right? I had her I had her for algebra two in 10th grade. And I used to fool around a lot in that class. I used to talk a lot. And whenever I got into whenever she called home, I'd just be like really angry and frustrated with her and stuff like that, But I fooled around a lot. But then like, and like I just had so much hate for her. I don't know why, but now that I have her as an advisor, right? Now, right? We talk on a personal level, She asked me how my day is going. I crack jokes with her. She laughs, we're laughing. We're having a good conversation. And now, like, I got to see that more personal side of Miss Booya. And yeah, now that I know her, our relationship is like this.
Yeah. A lot of people in the chat, and and Josh made a point that I was gonna say, but relationships matter. And what you said a few times was just getting to know each other personally, right? Now that sounds, to me, and that's been mentioned throughout this session, but just that personal connection kind of removes it from just teacher student. You actually get to know one another and how you can help one another. And it seems like in your example that's been very powerful and very helpful. So I thank you for that example that you just gave, because that was, I think, really highlighted that power of relationships there. So thank you, Avian. I appreciate it. This next question I want to ask to Saley and Savannah, and Saley, we'll start with you. How does your school support social emotional development?
Oh, social emotional development. So basically, we have access to our principal, our teachers at any time throughout the day. So if we're ever going through something throughout the school day where we kind of need a break or we need to talk to someone, period, we walk into the principal's office. We have immediate access to our principal, our vice principal, and they're always there for us. And it's never just academics. They care about your health, not only physical, but your emotional health as well. And I think that's an important part of social emotional development, having access to your mentors, your adults in your life is amazing. Having that communication, that personal level of understanding with a student and a parent or a teacher really helps develop your social emotional skills. It helps you feel more comfortable with expressing those skills and emotions.
Yeah, that's a wonderful example. I heard access to your educators, right? And then the fact that they care about you, your full self. I mean, that's, again, speaks to that kind of dynamic between student and teacher. And I want to ask the same question. So thank you for that answer, Saley. And Savannah, same thing. How does your school support social emotional development?
So with me personally, having access to my advisor is like, he really supports social emotional development. Like today, we were talking about unethical and ethical decision making. So we were in different scenarios and how they reacted to the situation, and we had to figure out if it's ethical or unethical. And really keeping in mind of the rule that, like, your brother's keeper, I think, that whatever is done unto you is done unto other people, and how you would feel in that situation. And he's really just there to really like support me, honestly. There's certain days when I come in, it's kind of sad, I don't want to do anything. He's like, Savannah, I see this, understand this. Now go sit in the corner, do what you gotta do, and then come join us when you're ready. I think every teacher here is like that. They're always trying to take care of you outside the classroom, not just academically, but emotionally, and really wants to get to know us as individuals, not just marks on the page.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. I appreciate that answer. And it just kind of echoes some of what we've been hearing so far. So thank you for that. So to keep us moving here, I'm going to ask this question to Abriana, Janiyah, and Seli. But what would be different about your community if more students and adults learned and used the skills that you've been taught? And Abriana, we'll start with you.
Personally, I'm in school for like a long time. I'm the president of the student council. Like I have a lot of things to do. So I don't really pay attention to my community, but like more like my school situation. Like they're my family. That's the vibe. But I feel like personally, if more students and adults in my school use SEL skills, there wouldn't be as many like violent altercations. I'm not saying that there's like violent altercations everywhere. Like, they have it under control, but I'm saying like, kids are hormonal, like everywhere. They're everywhere, I swear. And they just use their actions and like their words are really nasty. And I feel like if they use communication skills, not only would the adults know how to communicate with the students better so they can like cooperate with each other, but students will be able to, talk it out, instead of resorting to violence. I feel like that's easier on mental health as well. And yeah, because, school is really stressful and no one needs that much stress, especially at 8 in the morning. They be having too much energy.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's a great example. I just want to acknowledge the snaps that you're getting and appreciation when you drop that class president or, your accolades. I just want to throw that in there. So we get a lot of respect and appreciation for that. But I also appreciate that answer as well, looking at the community and looking at some of the violence and how that would be curbed if folks were using these skills. So I want to, again, throw the same questions to Janiyah. Thinking about your community, how would it be different if more students and adults learn to use these skills?
Community-wise, how it would be different if more adults, especially like adults that are now adults, if they were children and they had access to SEL skills, would be different. I feel like we would have a bit more of a calm environment, not saying that all bad things, like all violence and crime would be eradicated, but I feel like there would definitely be a significant less amount of it, because I feel like if they learn the communication skills and they learn to take time to themselves to assess the situation, I feel like a lot of the altercations that start with tiny arguments would be avoided.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. Yeah, I think, a decrease is necessary, right? It was important. So it might not resolve everything, but I think is important. And so, Seli, just the same question for you.
Yes.
If you want to just bring us home with that.
I would love to add on to my peers. What they both said was exactly spot on, in my opinion. I think if adults and kids alike had the SEL skills that we're developing now, I think a lot of discrimination, a lot of racism, a lot of discrimination in totality would be decreased monumentally, I think it would be a very big difference, because SEL skills is really about putting yourself in the person next to you's shoes. If Savannah's having a bad day and I know that she's having that bad day, I'm not going to go to her and, bother her or go annoy her. Putting yourself in that person's shoes and really respecting their boundaries is a huge part of SEL. And so when you think about that at a worldwide level, discrimination, the sexist behavior, all of that would be decreased, because you would be able to put yourself in that person's shoes despite their gender identity, despite their sexuality, despite their race. So I think, honestly, if everyone developed SEL skills, the world would be a better place in total.
Woo! Yeah, all right. Some snaps in person there, which I think is much deserved. Yeah, I think we certainly need that now. There's a lot happening in the world where we could use some SEL skills immediately. So examples, thank you for that. Thank you for that answer. So just really quickly, I want to remind folks before we get to this last question here that if please utilize the Q&A function. I think we have some questions in there already, but if there's a question you want to ask, we'll do our best if time permits to get to it. But just utilize that function, please. Last question I'm going to ask here. So we have educators. Well, this is going to come for Janiyah. We'll start with you, and I think we'll be able to squeeze in an answer for Savannah as well. So just a heads up. But knowing that we have educators and leaders from across the world here today, what do you want them to know about what students need in 2022, both socially and emotionally? So Janiyah, I'll start with you, and then Savannah, we'll make some time. We'll get to you.
I feel like that both socially and emotionally, what students really need when it comes to learning SEL skills is understanding and patience between them and the teacher. Because I feel like if they have those things, it'd be easier to connect and trust that adult so that it can strengthen their horizon in SEL skills. Because if there's no bond, no trust, no patience between those two, how will anything really get?
And educators are listening. So,
and Savannah, just same question to you. We're thinking about educators and leaders on the call. What do they need to know about right now, 2022, socially and emotionally, for young folks?
I think for the young folks, we really need patience and an outlet to communicate with. Because, for example, there can be a way that you may go about a situation in the past, but you certainly really can't do that right now because of how much has changed with the pandemic. People are set back for life, really, right? It affected them drastically. And if we're given the outlet to communicate properly and express our feelings, we can better perform in the classroom and outside the classroom, that'd be great. And honestly, patience on your part of being patient with us, even if we don't listen at the right times, we're gonna get there eventually. Just like need some time,
Yeah. Okay. Very moving words there for those on the call. So thank you to both for that. Note, we're going to get to some Q&A, but just a note before I forget that this is being recorded, and we will get this out to folks who do want to have access to this panel discussion that we're having. So hopefully I'm doing this right. But the questions I see here, and I'll name who they're going to go to, or if anyone wants to jump on. But the first question here is, how do you practice SEL skills at home? So does anyone want to take that question? I can, if anyone wants to, Avian, I see you leaning in.
It's all yours.
At home, you have I'm not gonna say everybody has siblings, but for those who have siblings or the people who don't even have siblings at all, you could communicate with your, use them with your parents, but you have siblings, to communicate with, to share like personal things with them, strengthening your relationship, being like how they're feeling, stuff like that. So you have your siblings and your parents. That's at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently kind of took in a friend of mine, came from DR and she needed somewhere to stay, and me and my family took her in. And so learning how to share my space, my room with a whole different person has been kind of hard. I had to make room for her in my closet. I had to move things around because I really want her to be comfortable. And I think that's really a part of, kind of putting myself in her shoes again, like she just came from home. She's away from her parents. So I had to give her that time to adjust, and I want to give her the space so she feels at home.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. I don't know if they want to, we'll move to another question. These questions are so I'll go to the next one I see here. From their perspective, how do they want us to collaborate with and consider their parents/family? So I guess so essentially, what would feel good or ideal about how schools can work with your parents, your families, your guardians, whomever may be home? What feels good? What would be ideal way for the school? Yeah, go ahead, Janiyah. I see your hand up there.
I feel like if we could really build that level of connection between the parents and the teachers, I feel like they'd be more involved with the school. And I feel like they would also learn how to adapt to what their child needs, like emotionally. You know, parents provide a lot for you, like, but emotionally, sometimes those needs aren't exactly met. So I feel like if we could connect with that in the school, that'd be a plus for the child.
Yeah, that's powerful. Anyone else? I'll open this up to anyone else. Just what does that relationship need to look like between school? Yep.
I think that personally in my school, that the communication between parents and, you know, educators and, you know, parent coordinators are very, very, you know, important, because it's like, I feel like nothing will get done unless the parents, you know, speak out. Because we can say a lot of things, but like I feel like most of these questions that we just did were based on how, like, you know, educators and students don't really, you know, get the connection that they need. So I think that if parents, you know, speak out more, or listen to their children, when they're saying, "Yo, mom, like there's like a weird little water fountain and it's nasty, so he's talking to school about that." You know, I just feel like little things like that, you know, because I'm gonna be honest, like without the parents, you know, enrolling us in the school, like there's not gonna be a lot of students. You know, I'm just saying. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. Listening up on all angles. Well, we'll move to the next question here. They're jumping around on me, so I'm sorry if you submitted one and I'm getting to it last. But someone asked, what would you say to a parent, teacher, or administrator who feels like there isn't enough time to work on SEL in school because it takes away from academics? So what would you say to a parent, teacher, or administrator who feels like there's not enough time for SEL, despite all the importance you guys just talked about of having SEL?
Honestly, what I would say is yes. Honestly, what I would say is if you don't feel like SEL is important enough to be introduced into the school and it takes away more of the academic times, let me just tell you this: SEL is academic. It teaches you how to be able to like talk to your peers responsibly and be able to and pretty much being able to like influence your situation to benefit you along with your peers, and being able to like talk to your teachers responsibly, and it adds to the experience that taking away.
Yeah. All right. That's a pretty strong case, I would say. Anyone else want to jump in on this? I feel like there was another voice that came on.
Yes. SEL skills is a part of academics. Without SEL skills, you aren't able to grow your experiences. So school isn't only about academics. You're here to grow socially, network properly, learn how to be in different situations and different environments with other people, and really be set when you graduate high school and go out to the real world. That you're not just a quiet, introverted person who can't speak up for themselves and can't communicate with other people to get things done, or to go into a job and get the job because you're too shy and you don't understand. You need these SEL skills to be able to.
Right. You know, if I were an educator and I had a student who passing all her classes but can't talk to a person without shaking or feels too nervous, too shy to speak up because she doesn't feel comfortable, I would feel like I failed. I wouldn't feel like I did enough for that student, because putting a student's emotional well-being before their academics is key. It's important. It's the most important thing.
Without them, without them being emotionally stable, they wouldn't be getting anything academically up there done.
Also, if you feel like it's taken from the lesson, just move it into the lesson.
Yeah.
Make it part academic, part SEL, and really get it ingrained into your students' minds that it's
something we see a lot in global commerce.
Yeah, like on Wednesdays, teachers usually ask, how's your week going so far?
Yeah.
For the do now, we write how we're feeling.
Like everything we've
and it's effective.
vocabulary words.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry,
Sorry, we got kind of delayed.
I'm convinced. Nah, that was a good answer. I appreciate that answer.
Wait.
That was very strong.
Wait, but I want to add on too. I feel like
please do.
I've seen this happen too many times where they clapped already. I didn't even say anything. Like, anyways, like I was saying, I've seen it so many times where like students, students will be like mentally, unbalanced, and then a teacher will sit there and try to blame it on them being lazy or this, but they're mentally drained, and then like an adult will be like, oh, you don't know nothing about stress, you're just a child. Like, we have it really, really bad, and I'm not saying as bad as anybody else. I can't compare my situation to anybody else, but I see it around like my friends and this and that. It's like we live in a world, like back to what I was saying about like a society constructed to bring people down, where like our self-images are like really negative, and we think that other people see us this way. And if we incorporated more SEL skills into these lessons, then it teaches us how to use our mind. Because sure, I know math, right? But if I go into the real world, like 20 years later, I'm at a job, I don't got no friends. I mean, personally, I don't think that would happen because, but like, that's kind of depressing, So I feel like that was check out.
Yeah, another good answer. I appreciate that. And the educators on here listening, I think a lot of powerful points, but how you can fuse some of the academic lessons with SEL. I think that's a really great suggestion and probably a very easy enough next step for a lot of folks on the call. I think this next question, go ahead, Janiyah. You can ask something.
One last thing is, for example, in 7th grade, when we was digital online, a way that our teacher used to merge SEL with the math would be like, for the do not, like one of the students over there was saying, he would ask, put an emoji in the chat for how you're feeling today, and everybody would do that, and based on that, that's how he would approach the lesson. So I feel like that is the way you could incorporate it.
That's good. Thank you for that. So I'm going to, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, Dominic.
That remind me how in 6th grade, my ELA teacher said she actually every day, it was like a schedule that daily we would do this thing called the mood check. So we would write down like a paragraph, 5 sentences about how we're feeling. And then after we do that, we would just put down a gift that represents how we're feeling. If we're feeling silly, if we're feeling sad, and why exactly.
Got it. So they start with kind of gauging the room. Yeah, that's an incredible practice, actually. Shout out to that advisor, that teacher that's doing that. We have about a minute left here. So I'm going to throw this one. I thought this was an interesting question. And I'm just going to direct it at, I'm going to give this one, Saley, I'm going to give this one last one to you, and just for the time purposes. So it says, you are all so inspiring, successful, and involved. What suggestions do you have for including the voices of the students who are struggling or not engaged in their education in school? How do we empower students like you to help those who haven't had leadership opportunities and supports you have? So just around, how do you go about inspiring other students? How do you go around getting them engaged if they're not?
I mean, I think for us, if you give us, the students, the tools and the power necessary around, and we educate each student on our own time. I mean, I don't really go around talking to every person like, these are SEL skills and this is how you use them. But indirectly, talking to Avian, talking to Savannah, I use my SEL skills, and that influences them. Even if I'm not saying I'm using social emotional, they feel that social emotional learning is more of like the way you feel and how you make others around you feel. So I think really all you have to do is use your SEL skills around them.
Let me get my snaps in before that was powerful. I think that's a good way to wrap it up with the questions. I just want to say this, though, is that the reason that this panel was put together is because you guys are the experts. And ultimately, you know, as we heard today, you guys have the answers that we need to be listening to. So I know that you are, and I hope that you are, but you guys should be proud of yourselves and the incredible work that you're doing. And I know that I'm proud of y'all. I've gotten to know you guys the last couple of days. I'm very impressed today, as I've been since I met you guys. And I wish you all nothing but success in all that you do in life. I know at Urban Assembly, we say all the time, make sure you stay connected. Make sure you utilize this network of folks that you have. There's always a home here at the UA. And so I want to thank you all. And just to our audience, to let you know, please click join in the next main stage session below, or go to the agenda to navigate to the next main stage. Session is titled Fireside Chat with Jamil Zaki. I know I'm looking forward to that conversation with Jamil and David Adams, and it's going to be fascinating, so I hope you are as well. Again, I want to just say thank you to our panelists. Y'all are incredible, and thank you to audience for the great questions, and we'll see you at the Fireside Chat with Jamil Zaki and David Adams very soon.
Thank you
Bye,
for listening
everyone.
to us. See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.